Okie dokie. Let's see what we're doing now. Where did I leave off? I'm going to be a little bit disjointed here because it's another day. I stopped working on this yesterday and I'm working on it again today. So I've got to get my head in the game and figure out what's going on. Let's see. I think when we left things, what did we have going here? What did we have going here? All right. So we were looking at getting this text on there, but we also wanted to be able to download this thing. So I've got the app here and I've got a download button that does nothing. So we should probably hook that download button up to something so that we actually download the image. And we could see if that works well. Yesterday we were hunting around for how to do this and we found this JS fiddle code that described how to do it, and I haven't looked yet. This is just pure JS. There's a download canvas function here. It looks like we turn the canvas, we use the .toData URL, and we set that to the href, and the link download is a file name, and we do something with that. Let's see, add event listener, downloads canvas, test.ping. Is that really all we need to do? Download as image. Oh, it's a link. Interesting. It's not a button. Oh, and then we set link download and link href. Oh, interesting. I wonder if we can actually do this with a button somehow or another. Because we're relying on the fact that the user has clicked on a link. We're relying on that fact to actually do the downloading. So maybe we should do something very similar to that. So I'm going to copy what they have there. I spent all that time looking up how to do a button, but instead I'm going to copy what's going on here, which is just an anchor tag with no information in it besides an ID. Anchor ID is download button, and if I change that to that and we have a look, now we have a download anchor with no href on it. Do we need an href on there to make it clickable? Oh yeah, interesting. Oh, that's weird. I wonder if they styled it. Canvas download, float, cursor pointer, color, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so. I'm a little bit surprised it has an underscore on it, though. Underscore and underline underneath. Because apparently apparently it didn't work for me unless I put a hash in there, a hash mark. Yeah, in any case, let's make more use of that fiddle code and see how this works. So when we click on the download link, then we want to set the href and we want to say link.download equals file name. I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. Let's have a look at anchor tag attributes. See if this gives us more information about that download. Download file name specifies the target will be downloaded when user clicks on the hyperlink. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So let's add some code to do this. When we get clicked on the link, we want to go ahead and set the href and set the download, and then it should download. Let's try it and find out. Let's see, is font available? We messed with that yesterday. All right, so when the page is loaded, when the images are all loaded, this means we're kind of ready for the next stage when all the images have loaded. So we check to see if the font's available and all that stuff. I'm going to add an event listener right here. So query selector, remember I wrote that so I could get elements out. No, it's not canvas. Sorry, it's download button. Download button. I'm just going to call it downloads. It's not a button anymore. Then we're going to add an event listener. And when we get clicked on, we want to do something on download click. I'm just going to put that in a different function to kind of avoid callback hell. This is going to have an event associated with it. But also this should be set to the download target. This should refer to the anchor tag in particular. So I should be able to do something like this. The anchor tag is this, and then, oh, this is going to be the interesting part. So I'll leave that for a second. Download. This should be the file name that we want to download it to, and we're going to make this something like YouTube background.ping. And I think it should download as ping automatically because the sample in JS Fiddle did that. But we need something here for the href. And in the JS Fiddle, they use this toData URL thing in Canvas. So let's have a quick look and see what that thing is. Canvas toData URL. This is an interesting function that returns the Canvas image data as what's called a data URL. The data URL is basically starts with data colon, and then it has some image information on it, and we could specify a type like JPEG or PNG, and we can give some encoder options like equality. And then after the data colon and the image type, a bunch of base 64 data is encoded like this. Here's an example of a data URL. Data, we've got the image type, we've got the encoding base 64, and then I don't know if that comma is part of the encoding or not, but then we have a whole pile of base 64 data right here. And this whole URL represents an entire image, which is actually kind of cool. So the image data is encoded there. The binary data about the image itself is encoded there. And if we specify this data URL as the href for the anchor tag, it'll download that data and save it on our computer, I hope. So here are some examples. Turning a canvas into a JPEG at full quality, turning it into a JPEG at 50% quality. Yeah, but you can also do image ping. I'm almost positive. The default type is image ping. So by default, it goes there. But we could also put that in there explicitly so a future coder might know what it was. Let's, actually this can be const. Huh? Let's figure out what the canvas is. Query selector of the canvas. All right. And then toData URL. Trying to remember how to do this. Let's see, we need the context? No, we just need the canvas directly. So the href data is the canvas toData URL, and we can specify a type here, image ping. Like I said, that's the default, but we might even leave something here. give the option to a future coder if they want to change it up. Maybe they'll want to use JPEGs instead. Maybe we'll want to use JPEGs instead. Maybe they'll be smaller and worth it or something at full quality. Leave a note here. All right. I think that's all we need. So we've got our event listener for clicks. When you click on it, this happens. We set the href and we set the download link. Let's try it and see what happens. Now the fun begins. Reload. We've got our download button. I'm going to bring up a debugger, just make sure we don't have any craziness appearing in the console, like errors and so on. I'm going to put a breakpoint in. Let's put a breakpoint in on download click right here. So I'm going to click on that, and then we'll hit our breakpoint. Let's see if I make this a little bigger. There it is. And we should be able to see that this is the anchor tag. There it is. It's even highlighted. I'm about to point at the screen. That would be useful. It even gets highlighted over here by the download button when I mouse over it in the debugger. So, yep, there we go. So the anchor tag is going to be that. I'm going to step over with all my stepping controls. Where's everything? Haha. All right. So I'll step over this. So our anchor tag is the anchor tag, our canvas is the canvas, and we're going to set the anchor tag href to data URL this, and it's going to puke. Why? Tainted canvases may not be exported. I have no idea what this means. Why would this canvas be tainted? It seems to imply something about, oh dear. We may be up against a showstopper here, because I'll bet it's tainted because we drew another image on it. Let's see if we can figure out some way around this. So with canvases, there are all kinds of rules about same origin stuff. This could also be because I'm serving it as a file URL. Up here, I'm not running it off a web server. Let's try running it off a web server first. And I know there's a way that we can just make a web server with Python. Let's see, Python 2 web server one-liner. We'll just run a web server in the current directory, and then we'll be able to get to it. I just don't remember what it is. There is a great way to do this in Python 2 and Python 3. Max have Python 2 installed by default. Python 2, here it is. So we're just going to run this thing. Let's see, where am I? We're in some place that I totally did not want to be. All right. And actually, let's open a new tab here. Oh, shoot. I'm running in a virtual environment. Let's get out of that. Okay. Nice. All right, now let's run our simple web server, and it's going to tell us that it's listening on port 8000 of localhost. So now I can pop back to here. I'm going to stop doing the file serving, and I'm just going to go to localhost 8000. Let's see. There, it's all loaded. Great. Fave icon not found. I don't have a fave icon yet. Let's go to sources. Let's pull up this source. We're going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to put a breakpoint here, and we're going to go for it. Download. And if I get the same error, then some Googling is going to happen. To data URL. It worked. So happy. All right, so one lesson that I picked up at some point in my life is that when we're dealing with when we're dealing with different origin issues with canvases, namely if I take an image that's from one domain and I draw it onto a canvas that's on HTML on a different domain, that canvas becomes tainted. And at that point, we can't do a variety of things to it. One of those things we can't do is convert it to a data URL or get the pixels out of it. There's like a kind of security risk there for being able to leak data into JavaScript from places it was not meant to be. So, turns out that if you do that with a file URL, then the canvas becomes tainted. Even though it was coming from like the same file URL domain-ish thing, file URLs don't count, and then I couldn't turn it into a data URL. But I ran it off my Python web server, and now it is working fine. So hey, I shouldn't say my Python web server. Again, that web server is built into Python. It's a really neat way to just launch a web server when you need one in the current directory and serve stuff out of whatever directory you're in when you run it. You can see a little log here going by, all the stuff it tried to grab. Can't find my fave icon. I'll have to make a little fave icon out of the Lambda School shield. Okay, what else we got? Great, so stuff's happening. The href tag, look at that. So the href for the anchor is now this crazy big data URL that represents that image. All right, and downloads nothing, but it should be set to this in a second. And after this, I don't stop propagation of the event. I don't prevent default on the event. These are two things you can do to stop the way the event propagates and stop the default behavior. But in this case, I actually want the default behavior to happen. I want it when you click on the anchor tag to have it do a thing. And I want to have it download this thing. So hopefully if I press play now, it downloads. Bam, there we go. It's downloaded this thing right here. I'm going to click on it, and it popped it up on my other screen. But there we are in preview. Whoo, we've just gotten the download to work. So happy about that. Okay, so download's going. Good time to do a commit. Now, there are a couple things about my code that are bugging me right now. One is that I don't have any comments on anything, and another is that there are getting to be a lot of functions that do a lot of things in this file. Now, I'm not going to comment everything fully at this point, but visually this code is hard for me to skim because I can't see where one function begins and another ends. Sure, it says function and stuff, but it's not as clear to my brain as I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and add some comments here, just one-liners that help break up the monotony a little bit. So a helper function for query selector, obvious comment. I'm just putting them here in order to break up the flow of the program. So in a minute, we'll see that it looks a lot nicer. Load an image. Promisified. Okay. Draw the specified image on the canvas and handle download button click. I want you to take a look at this vanilla JS and compare it to how you might do something similar in React. How in React you're thinking about everything from like a component standpoint. You're like, okay, this is made up of this component, this is made up of this component, and so on. And you still have to handle events, of course, when components get clicked on. But the way you approach the problem is from a component perspective. And that's fine, nothing wrong with that at all. But there is more than one way to approach a problem. And so here in Vanilla.js, I'm approaching it far more from kind of an event-driven perspective. So I'm not worrying so much about the components, which I hastily threw together in HTML. I'm worried about how events happen within this system. I'm worried about when does the window finish loading? And when the window finishes loading, let's load some images. When do the images finish loading? When they finish loading, let's draw some images on the canvas. When does the user click on the download button? When the user does that, let's handle that event. So I'm thinking about everything from more of an event standpoint than a component standpoint. Neither one's right nor wrong. They're just kind of different ways of looking at it. So called once all the images have loaded. And this calls when the DOM is loaded. And then this is kind of our main code down here. This gets run immediately because it's outside of a function. All right, so now I've added these comments. And now visually, when I go through the code, it's actually looking more broken up. And I can see clearly where functions begin and end. And it's a lot easier on my brain. So I'm going to go ahead, add some comments to that. All right. And that's all push. I should have tested it again before I pushed it, because adding comments is known to sometimes break things. All right. What's next? So we have not actually rendered any text on here. I've said that I have Helvetica at my disposal, but I haven't drawn any text on. There is a way to draw centered text. I want to draw line 1 description up here, then line 2 description below that, then instructor name and date separated by a bullet in the middle. Some wish list items that may actually go here that we didn't add in the drawing. We might have a checkbox for maybe auto resizing the text. Like if it gets too big to fit, maybe we automatically scale it down. Or maybe we have a selector where we can type in a font size or something like that. That could be wish list stuff though. Let's just try to get something going as is right now. So what's next? Let's make it so that when the user types in the top field, the description line 1 field, that information appears in the preview. And what I'd like to do here is I'd like to do a live update of that preview. So every time you type a key into that text field, it appears on the canvas. So I got to figure out how to do that. I'm pretty sure there's a way to add an event listener to do this. And I'm pretty sure it's portable. We haven't even started talking about portability yet, but of course, at the end of the day, this has to run on Chrome and Firefox and Edge. So, and probably Internet Explorer even. But we'll do some testing of this stuff later. And Vanilla.js has gotten pretty good at being portable, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to make it so when you get in here, description line 1, you say, hello world. This is appearing keystroke per keystroke down here, automatically centering in the correct font, and so on. And then we can go to description line 2 and add stuff, and so on. And of course, later on, we'll make it so that it remembers what you typed here, so you don't have to type it again every single time. So let's do that. So let's try to figure out how we get individual key presses first of all. And we'll see what we can do. So let's see here. This is input, text input. Let's see if we get key press events or something. On key press, so the key press event attribute, global event handler line key press event reference. I wonder if there's a key release or an on key. Let's see, related events, key up, key down, key press. Oh, key press probably is Probably is a mix of key up and key down. All right, so then we get a key name, and it's this event. So let's add an event listener on our input for key press, and let's just console log the event that comes out of it, and we'll see if we can make any kind of sense of that. So add some stuff here. Oops. I'm probably going to want to loop through a bunch of input fields here, but for now I'm just going to duplicate my code. So input ID is description 1, and I'm also going to have a description 2, and instructor name and date. All right, so these are my 4 inputs. I wish to add event listeners to all of them that cause my canvas to update. And I may wish the canvas to actually fully update. That might be the best way to do it, to re-render everything. So description 1, description 2, instruction name, and date. Let's just do a little for of loop here. Description 1, description 2, instructor name, and date. So if we type in any of these, hopefully we get something done here. Let's see. The element is query selector by the ID. Sorry, it should be, let's put actual IDs in here. So we get the element, and then we want to add an event listener. And for key press. And then when that happens, let's just go ahead and let's just console log an event that comes out of here. Okay. Right. Let's run this, see how that goes. ID is not defined, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, what do we do? Let ID, yeah, so I've got strict mode. I can't just do that. It saved me from embarrassingly having a global in there. All right, no errors this time. Great. I'm going to type a letter here, like A. Keyboard event is trusted true. Oh, nice. I'm trusted. I wonder what that means. The key is A. The code is key A. The location is 0. The control key is false. The char code is 97. But it says the key is A. I wonder if we can just use that. The key press event, did that give us some information? Properties, target type, target char, key, read only. All right. So it seems to be at least remotely standard. Key value, the key, if the key has a printed representation, this attribute's value is the same as a char property. Otherwise, it is one of the key value strings specified the key values. Interesting. So we might get some weird numbers out of it if we hit like escape. Let's see what get to our end of our console here. Let's try hitting escape. Nothing happens. I'm going to try hitting backspace. Nothing happens. No event on backspace. That's really irksome. How can we detect a backspace key press? Because I would definitely want to update what I have there when backspace is hit. It gets enter but not backspace? Oh dear. That's not good. All right, let's see what the internet says. Key press event doesn't detect backspace. Let's see if Stack Overflow can save us immediately. Use event.key. I don't see how I don't even get an event. So, oh, key down. Oh, use a key down event. Oh boy. All right. But I like key press as opposed to key down. Well, we can add a key down event as well to all of them. Then we're going to get 2 events per. Okay. Fine, we'll use key down because that seems to be the way we can get backspace out of it. That's a little bit irksome to me, but I'll live with it. Okay. So I'm going to switch from key press to key down. And now we're going to see what events we get. That's so weird that backspace doesn't come in as a key press to me. That's just doesn't make any sense. Backspace doesn't, return does. All right, so A, B, backspace. And even key is backspace. That's kind of convenient. All right. I didn't care if it was backspace. I just wanted to know if I had an event so that I could do stuff. All right. So I actually don't even care what's in it, do I? I don't care if it's a key or not. I just want to re-render whatever's in the field right then onto the canvas if it changes. So when we get a key down, we'll just re-render the canvas. So let's see how that goes. So key down, when this happens, I wish to draw the canvas, please. I wish to draw images. I want to draw the image Sub-Zero. I don't have the current image saved anywhere, like the currently selected image. I'm just going to put a constant up here. And we'll just use that. And later on, maybe this will be a thing that we can build out into some kind of pull-down menu. But I'm trying to avoid hard-coding images 0 all over the place here. So we'll just use cur image for drawing that. And then if we get a key down event, I wish to draw images again. The cur image. Oh boy. But this is making me unhappy because I don't want to have to pass it because it's going to change. And of course, the cur image is going to be. I'm thinking about scoping problems right now. Am I going to have a scoping problem here? Because is that going to be bound outside of this if I try to do something like yeah, so is that going to be a problem? Because cur image is gonna change. It's gonna be bound. We're gonna have to like figure out what the current image is inside this thing. I don't know. Let's just leave it for the moment and see what happens. All right. So now we should be redrawing our image every single time I hit a key. Of course, I can't quite tell if that's happening, but let's go ahead and check draw image right here. So if I come up here and hit backspace, yeah, sure enough, we get the canvas, we set the size, we draw the image on it, and the only thing that's left actually is to draw some text on it. So let's figure out how to draw text, namely the text that we have in our input field. So let's go get that. So here's our draw stuff. So first step, draw the background. Second step, draw the description. And we're going to do this by drawing some text, and we have to set fonts and stuff like that. I saw back in the thing that we were using right here, this code snippet, there was some sample drawing of text in here. So we set a fill style, fill the rectangle in the background. All right. So we set a font, and then we fill text. Yeah, I know there's a way to do centering. So let's figure that out in a second. So I'm copying this out of here. We already have the context. Do we have a context? We do have a context, CTX. So I'm going to paste this code in here. So we're going to do 60 pixels, except it's going to be more like 120 pixels. And I said I wanted Helvetica. And if I can't find Helvetica, I'm going to put something really ugly out there. So that nobody can accidentally mistake the fact that it's the wrong font. Let's see, 10 canvas height. So this is X and Y coordinates. We're going to set something more correctly in a minute after I figure out how to center it. Hello world. Quick test to see if we get hello world on our canvas. I see something got drawn up here. So that's weird. Context. Let's make this white. Was it just fill? Was that it for context? Fill style. All right, I definitely have white stuff appearing up there. Let's add something to the Y coordinate to see if that. All right, hello world. There we go. So we were seeing the comma down there at the top. I think that is Helvetica. It's certainly not monospace. 120 pixels seems about right. Oh, but it should be bold. So let's see here. HTML canvas bold text, please. There's got to be some way to font italic 10 point bold. It looks like bold goes as the first word. I just saw that fly by. So bold hello world. Yeah, getting there. All right. Now let's skip this. Let's figure out what the value is in our description 1 field. So I think we can do that with query selector, description 1, and then, oh man, is it value? I can't remember. Oh, sorry, description 1. It's either a value or it's a function. I don't know. Missing something after argument list. What did I do? Description 1, comma world. That was funny. A. No, that's description 2. A, B, C. All right, it's lagging 1 character behind. Oh, because on the key, oh, it's so annoying. On the key down event, the character has not yet been added to, the character hasn't been added to the field yet on the key down event. So we could hackishly either add that character to the string, or we can maybe try the key up event and see if that gives us a slightly different result, although then we have to wait for the key to come up before this, or I can hook the key down event and ignore everything that's not backspace. Oh, it's all ugly. It's all making me unhappy. Let's try key up and see what kind of experience that gives us. A, B, C, D, E, F. Back. Okay, it kind of works now. It's not horrendous. It seems a little sluggish because it waits for the key to come up before it actually appears on the canvas. But at least it's happening in the right order now. 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's not bad. Okay, let's pop over here and say HTML canvas center text, please. See how we can make this work. Canvas text align property. Great. So I'm going to set the alignment of the text to center, just like you can do in a word processor. And then that should make it expand out from the middle. Text align start and left center. Text align is center. Great. On the context, we will set this. The context for the canvas has all the information about drawing that it needs. So I can just set that right here. Context dot, in fact, everything is going to be, we've got the fill style of white, text align is center. Okay, so the text align is center. I would like to fill this with the canvas width, canvas.width. I'll start with canvas.width divided by 2 for the x coordinate, and then for the y coordinate, we just have some value that's going to be in there. And I'm not actually quite sure where this needs to be positioned. Oh, and it might be kind of trial and error to figure it out. What I can do is we can pop back over to Keynote, and I've got this thing. I can go ahead and export. It seems like the baseline of each line was where it was putting the y coordinate, which is why it appeared off the top of the canvas when I started. So we need to figure out what the baseline is here, pixel-wise. So I'm going to go ahead and in Keynote, I'm going to export this guy as an image. Actually, I think I already did this last night, but let's just do it again. High quality JPEG, interesting. Okay, so I've created the image, and I'm going to open that thing up. Find it. Where did I put that stuff? There it is. So I'm going to open that in my image editor, and we're just going to give it a try and see if, see what we can do for measuring the size of this thing. It's loading on my other screen inconveniently. All right, here we go. Let's see, is there a pointer info? Okay, down here in tiny font in the little corner, it's telling me where I am. Let's see, zoom in this, there we go. So you can probably not read that because it's so small, but I'm guessing the baseline for this is 550 pixels in the Y direction. And the baseline for the next one is 703 pixels. So 550 in that. And then we need to figure out how many pixels big this font is. And that is all kinds of fun, I'm sure. Get a rough size here. This is 117 pixels tall right here. So maybe we'll say 120 pixels. So 120 pixels tall, and we were going to go at 550 for the base. Uh, 120 pixels tall we already set. A lot of magic numbers coded in here. It'd be nice to make these constants someplace. All right, let's get this out of here. Oh, so many windows open. So many windows. I think I can get rid of Keynote at this point. And then I just want to test this and see if it works. Reload. No errors yet. Start drawing. Hi. This is a test. Woohoo. Okay. Description line 1. Now, I'm not actually sure if that is at the right place. It sure looks pretty close, though. The font looks a little small, quite honestly. I'm going to put in more lines of text and then see if it seems to be lining up. So here's something that I might type. Oh, that's awfully close. It is a little small, though. All right, and then description line 2. Let's just go ahead and hack this in really fast. So we draw the description here, and we'll get description 1, description 2, fill style I set earlier, so I can delete that line. The font needs to be set independently because the third line is going to have a different font. It's not going to be bold. It's going to be smaller. So we'll set the font here, and then I'll fill this description 2. And I think I said 703 for the base pixel value for this. Okay. Let's see. Reload. Too bad I lose all this stuff. We should add the feature that it saved it. Tab, sprint challenge, solution. Boy, that is not bad. That is really not bad. I'm gonna hit download again. We're gonna take a look at this just to make sure that it's coming up right. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. I'm getting happy. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, so we have kind of the proof of concept here that this is going to work. The last things I need to add are the instructor name and the date, which I can pre-populate by getting that from the system. So I feel confident that we can do that. I'm going to check this in now, and then I'm going to take a diversion, and we're going to look at local storage as a way to save this information on the browser side so that I don't have to keep typing it in again every single time I hit reload to test this out. So I'm so stoked to see it working like this. So let's go ahead and do our commit. Okay, and now let's look at local storage on the browser. To be honest, I've never actually coded this up. I've read about it before, and I know it's not that complicated, but I don't remember a thing about it. It's been simply too long. I don't even remember if it's called local storage or not. But that seems like I've got window local storage. You know what? I'm going to pop over to Can I Use? And we're going to look up local storage and see if that suggests anything. I'm going to type local correctly, maybe, if computer. All right. A little bit laggy here. The laggier it is, the more typos I make. I just know it. Local compare, gyroscope, date and input, web storage. Web storage? Web storage, is that what we want? Everybody has it. Maybe web storage is what we're talking about. Name value pairs. I mean, that's what I want to do. All right. Let's Google web storage and see what comes up. Web storage API on MDN, my favorite. Oh, session storage maintains a separate storage area for each given origin that's available for the duration of the paid session. Local storage does the same thing but persists even when the browser is closed and reopened. Have you tried closing it and reopening it? All right, so local storage is what I want. So it was called local storage. These mechanisms are available via the Windows Session Storage and Windows Local Storage properties. The read-only local storage property allows you to access a storage object. Okay. How do I do stuff with it? Set item. Local storage set item, local storage get item. Great. Or remove item. That seems completely and utterly straightforward. All right, so we kind of want to do a couple different things. We want to save stuff to local storage. I could save it every time the user types a thing, but I'm wondering if it's possible to just save it when we exit the page. JavaScript detect when user leaves page. Best way to detect when user leaves a page from 2008. Let's get more recent. Let's see if somebody says something, and there we go. 2017. Detect. Okay, it seems like there's an unload event. This is help for Angular, and that's not gonna make me happy. Before unload. This is browsers may not display prompts created in before unload. The document is still visible and the event is still cancelable. Attaching an event handler listener to Windows document before unload event prevents browsers from using in-memory page navigation caches. Really? So is this the way? Is this the way of doing it? This seems to imply that you can only like pop up a dialog box or something. Oh, it says if a string is assigned to the return value event property dialog. Okay, so we don't have to. Well, will we get an unload event? Will we get an unload event on a reload as well? All right, so what I've done here is simply copied over this thing, which should print out the little yay guy before our page unloads. So I'll reload and see what happens. Let's reload again. Reload site. Changes you may not be saved. Oh, if you set it to anything, it just does this. All right. So I am getting the event. We can't pop up. We can't pop up our own dialog, but you can pop up a dialog. Let's see if we can get. We should be able to do this. And if I reload here, it's still asking me. That's really annoying. I'm going to put a breakpoint in right here. Now if I hit reload, do we get a breakpoint? No. Oh, that's really funny. Why doesn't it hit the breakpoint? That's strange. I do see it printing out the word foo though, like down here. If I hit reload, it will print out foo. Or are we at the breakpoint now? Oh, we're here. Play. So yeah, watch down here in the console. I don't know if it'll show up in the video, but I hit reload, word foo appears, and then we reload. It's a mystery to me why the breakpoint doesn't trigger. All right, so we can do stuff here. So we can say local storage is window.local storage, and then we can say local storage.set. Was it set item? What do we got here? Yeah, set item, get item. All right, so right as the page unloads, we can set all kinds of items. So for description one, we can get the value of description one. Let's do this in a loop. Let's do our exact same loop of everything we want to save right here. So local storage, set item, and I'm going to do this differently. And I have to look up the item by ID, which means I have to put that back on the front. Okay, so this should go save all text fields to local storage. And we might not actually want to do the date one. We may want to have it not remember the date and just use today's date. That's probably a more common case. So let's take date out of there, actually. All right, so we save all that to local storage. When it's loaded, when our DOM is ready, we should be able to restore all the fields from local storage. Now, I don't know what happens if we do a get item on a field that doesn't exist. Let's see here. Let's put our query selector. I think we can just set a value directly like this. All right. Okay. Is that going to work? Is this going to work? I don't know what happens if this might get turned into toString and the value might be null or something like that. I'm going to I'm going to pull it out right here, and we're going to have a look at it, because I kind of feel like this might be nulls and it might, or undefined or something like that. Actually, we should just be able to look. Specifications, browser compatibility, local storage, set item, get item. I'm not sure where the specs are for get item. It's the only place it appears. Please refer to this for a full. I just want to know what get item returns. It is recommended to use set item, get item. Okay, great. I'm using that. If not, it means it returns something falsy if it doesn't exist. Well, what does it return? What does it return? Curses. LS is not defined. Oh, yep. I made my little local storage thing up here, and I did not make it up here. Okay. No errors. Restore all text fields. So let's do this. Well, now it's probably actually going to be an empty string or something. Yeah, it is an empty string. So it worked fine. Probably because I saved it before I ever loaded it for the first time. So I am going to put a check in there because clearly in the example something was falsy. So I'm going to say if val, then we'll do our stuff. And I'm doing that just in case. You see, in my case, I think I saved it in local storage before I ever tried to load it, but I'm thinking that the user might come to the page for the first time and they'll try to load it, and then it'll stick the word null in there or something ugly like that if they get here for the first time without anything in local storage. So yeah, let's go ahead and run, and we're all happy there. And now CS9 computer architecture, oops, CHI And now I'm going to just hit reload. Hey, and it saved it. Great. So now I can type stuff in, and when I hit reload, it persists to the next time. And then I want to fill out the date automatically. We'll do that later. So we've got some local storage stuff saved. Great. And I said don't save the date. So if I hit reload, that gets cleared, but we'll just fill it out with the current date soon. Okay. Great. Set fields to local storage. Okay. Now we just have to figure out what we have to print for the name and the bullet and the date. Now let's auto-populate the date first, just so that we can make our string all happy. So I can't remember anything about that. Simply been ages since I've done date stuff. I haven't been on a date in forever. Oh. How do we do that? JavaScript date formatting. ISO date, short date, long date. No, long date's good, but I want it to have like a comma and stuff. So, no, but this is how we make date. How do I actually format? Interesting. All right, so we can do the date now, and we can get these individual bits. Great. Get full year, etc. Okay, so 4-digit year, I want the day of the month as a number. Oh, that's annoying. This means I have to have an array of all my month names, but I guess that's not the end of the world. Okay. So let's make an array of month names because I want to print out like June or November or stuff. So, and it says it returns it as a number from 0 to 11, so that conveniently fits in here. So I'm just going to put all these months in. January, February, March, April, December. Okay, so all these months are in here, and now we should be able to just get that out and populate our field. So when we load this stuff, I'm going to set the date field. And so date now is what time it is now, and we're going to print out the date string. And this is going to be what? It's going to be the month. Should I call it month or months? Let's just call it month. That month sub d dot get month plus the date. The day is that date. What does that say? Date is the day number. Great. We'll use that. Should we use a parameterized string for this? Am I doing this right? Why is it not highlighting the way I expect? June 15th, and then the year. Get full year. Okay, so that's the date string, and then we just need to set our date field value to the date string. Let's see how that explodes. D.getMonth is not a function. You didn't you say that was a thing? From a date object. Oh, it's just new date. It's not date now. Let's just make a new date object. There we go. Let's try that. Hey, oh, it populated. June 19th, 2018. Great. So now all I have to do is draw it. This is the last thing we have to do. And so I have to pop over here and try to figure out all my font metric information for this again. So the baseline is going to be at 822 pixels. So let's get that in our code somewhere. And this will be in our drawing routine where we want to draw the instructor date. Okay, let's grab all those stuff. So the instructor is query selector instructor name value, and the, let's be consistent, instructor name, and date is query selector and date value. Okay, and the full string, the full string is going to be interesting. I want to put a Unicode bullet in there. So in order to make that happen, we need to encode Unicode in a string in JavaScript, and I'm totally failing to remember how to do that. If we can just put a Unicode character straight in, or if we have to type in an encoding of some kind. This is ringing a bell for me because ages ago, there was some kind of string encoding that was breaking something that was coming off a server, and I had to end up URL encoding the string. And okay, it would just be nice if we could put some encoded format in there. We'll look at this in a second. Let's make it without the bullet to start. So the name date string is going to be the instructor name, inst name, and we'll put a bullet here. I'll put that in later, just an O for a placeholder now, and the date. Text align is still centered. We want to change our font, and we want to draw something differently here. So this is going to be the name date, and we are going to center it, canvas width divided by 2. That's fine. And I said the baseline of this was 820 something, 824. That's great. And then I'm going to do again some measurements in here to try to figure out how big these characters are. The height of this is 78 pixels. Let's just call it 80, because 80 is probably what somebody typed in somewhere. It's also not bold, so I'm wondering if my little hack of putting monospace out here is working. I might have a test for that in a minute. All right, let's see what this says when we reload now. All right, there is some information. I'm looking at the real one. The one that I'm rendering looks a little bit more compact. Like I don't have enough white space in it. But we can save it, and I can do like a more side-by-side comparison in a minute and decide where to bump stuff up and down, and if the fonts are big enough, and so on. I think the fonts need to be slightly bigger. All right, so what about that Unicode bullet? Trying JavaScript source Unicode character. Let's see if there's some hint. Like some programming languages source code, you can just type it in Unicode. Go programming language, Swift, modern programming languages, you just type in Unicode, and that's that. Older languages like C, you can't just type in Unicode. There's actually a very specific character set that's allowed, and this has to do with the fact that C is meant to run on all kinds of computers, even very small ones that don't have a lot of support for stuff. Let's see here. So Unicode characters, looks like we have a lot of. All right, so speaking JavaScript, Unicode and JavaScript. Unicode history, holy cow, this is in depth. So you can just put a \u and then looks like this is what we can do. Okay, so we just need to find the Unicode bullet character \u and 2022 is what it looks like. So let's put that in here. \u 2022. Accidentally pull up the help. We'll see if that does what we're after. Hey, there we go. We got our bullet in between my name and the date. That makes me happy. Okay. So that's all good. Let's commit this stuff here. And then I am going to do a little test to see if what happens if we don't have Helvetica, how it renders. So I'm going to change Helvetica to a font that doesn't exist, like Helvetica 2. And now it should fall back on monospace, which should look terrible. Yeah. But maybe we don't want it to look terrible. Maybe we want it to just make its best effort and still just warn us if it doesn't have the font. Yeah. Let's make that the default. Okay. So that's there. The last thing I really want to do is get the spacing on, and then I'm going to have my MVP. Maybe I'll put a little bit of a tiny amount of styling around these crazy form fields that that look horrible. Maybe I'll put some padding in there or something like that. Just terrible. But before we do that, I'm going to download this one more time. And then I'm going to get this thing, and I'm going to show this in the Finder, and we are going to open it. And we're going to do a side-by-side comparison with these two different versions. So this is the one that I rendered right here, and this is the one that came off. Now, under Linux, I have this really cool thing where I can see transparency. But here I don't have that. So maybe we'll try something using the layers tool of this. So this YouTube background here, I'm going to add a new layer, and we're just going to call it layer. We're going to put it over the top of this. I'm going to grab all this image, and I'm going to go here, and we're going to paste that onto layer. Anchor, please. Whoa. Anchor that layer down. Okay. So now I've got the layer on top that is the one that's authoritative, and the layer on the bottom is the one that I did. And so now I can turn on and off these layers, and I can see that indeed they are different. The font sizes are different, and the positioning is slightly different. Positioning's pretty close though. Let's first try to fix the font size. So the question is, how many pixels too small is this font? And I'm going to, we'll zoom in here on the image. And so the real one is supposed to be this many pixels tall. That is 95 pixels tall on the capital C. And if I turn that off, we go to our capital C and we see that we are 93 pixels tall. Really? Maybe I need a different character that has a descender on it or something. Let's do the total height from the top of the C to the bottom of the P. So that appears to be 115 pixels. And then if we do the same thing here, it's 116 pixels. What the heck? Why are these different sizes? Oh, because I had it turned on. Seriously, it looks like the same size. Is it less condensed? It's spaced out a little bit more, I think. I think that's really the difference. I'm going to take this layer and we're going to move it somehow. There we go. And I'm also going to change the opacity on this layer. Check this out. And then we're gonna move it right over this thing and see if we can see what's different. Okay, it is a couple pixels bigger. And that O is right on though. So there is something about the way it's spaced. Like it's bold, but it may be some other, oh boy. This is going to be one of those things that is just not going to be pixel perfect. And I think my client, Lambda School, will be happy with it. Let's see if I can get more information about this font. What does this say? Helvetica New, bold. What's under here? Advanced options, character spacing, 0%, baseline shift, 0 points, alignment, spacing. So it looks like we might just be having a different might be a different weight. It just says bold though. Man, it looks really similar, doesn't it? Let's look at that M again. The M is just a little bit wider. That's all there is to it. Let's just go bigger pixels. Bigger pixels. And I think bigger pixels all around. Let's just add 2 more onto these. It seems like such a piddly amount, doesn't it? All right. So YTVG3. This is just the one. I don't need this anymore. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this one. And then Okay, now let's see what we got. So I'm going to move this layer around again. That M is still out of control. Everything seems generally the right size now, at least the right height. But the width is still a little too narrow. Not as bad as it was. The character spacing is still horrendous. Look how far off it gets after a while. And I don't think I can actually change that. So I think we just might be set right now at what it actually is going to be. I'm going to delete this layer and reload it. Make myself a new layer for it. I'm just doing this so I can align it properly. Hey, that's not where I wanted it. I wanted it on the other. Oh man, I made it in the wrong place. Okay, one more time. New layer. That's definitely here, right? Paste. All right. Okay, zoom out. Now the question is, how are we doing for text alignment? So the real one starts off a little higher. The one I generated is a little too low. So I need to move up everything by probably about the same amount. Let's have a look and see how many pixels that is. So real one, we'll change the opacity here. Come on, there we go. That was really awfully close. We just need to move it up like 2 pixels. Like all of them. Otherwise the spacing seems actually pretty decent. So let's just move them up a couple pixels. There we go. And reload. Hooray! Okay, let's put some spacing in there, and then we'll call it MVP. I didn't actually make it exactly like the way it worked in the keynote because the font kerning isn't the same, but I only have so much control over that. And I think this is probably good enough. Okay, and so the last thing I want to do here is some styles, which I have over here. Display block, and we'll put margin bottom 10 pixels. Is that going to make it look all fat? Kind of. Let's do the exact same thing that we did with this. This is my design skill right here. Look at that. Wow, amazing. The the download button. Ooh, is that a, oh boy. Let's get rid of that horrendous font. And then we got display block on this thing. I'm going to put a margin bottom on that. There we go. Great. I'm going to right now bring this up in an incognito window. Has no local storage, no nothing. We're going to make sure that it looks okay in the incognito window. And it kind of does. We don't have a description yet. And if I hit reload, local storage is saved in my thing. Great. And of course, we can change the date if we want to. And then we should be able to click download. And I should be able to open this. And there it is. Wonder how big that file is. Should we do the JPEG thing? $400K versus 500K for the JPEG. So, yeah, might as well just have a ping. So this is all not pushed yet. Let's push the final one. And then we have to wait around for this to actually show up on our GitHub page. Remember, we started with GitHub pages here. If I hit reload here, we should get some stuff. So one of the latest incarnations is here, but it doesn't have my styling yet. But I'm thinking that it should work. And then all I have to do is hit reload until this comes through, and then I can tell everybody about it, and that'll be my MVP. And hey, I can tell them the other stuff that I'm planning on doing, like maybe different backgrounds or allowing different font sizes or all kinds of stuff like that. But for now, this will be that. So let's just give it a couple minutes until it works. All right, and there we are. It's live. So I can ship it, get some feedback, and make it better. So I hope this has been kind of interesting. Kind of see my thought process as I go through. I have these vague ideas of what I want to do, and I'm like, I know that there's a way to store stuff locally on the browser, and I know there's a way to center text on a canvas, and I know there's a way to download a canvas, and I can't remember any of it off the top of my head, but I used a lot of efficient Googling to get myself there. So with that in mind, don't forget, being an efficient Googler is part of being an efficient developer. Anyway, I'll get some feedback from the guys, and we'll see how everybody likes it, and maybe we'll add some more of those stretch goal features later. Thanks for watching. Have fun coding.